there any questions, comments?
What are your thoughts on the Denver airport?
What about the Denver airport?
What are your thoughts on it?
Oh, well, I actually like the Denver airport because I like the forms, because they do kind of reflect the mountains behind them. When you ask that question, do you think there's something wrong with it?
No, I just wonder, is there anything unique about it? Did they do anything? Was it revolutionary, or was it just using the textbook?
There's really nothing unique about that. No, it's just a different use of an existing technology. Anybody else? You mean I was so clear? Yeah, no questions. It's all clear. Yeah. Yes.
What is the longest lasting fabric that's reasonable to expect?
Well, so far the Teflon. What's the longest lasting?
What is the longest lasting?
Duration.
Yeah, Teflon. Teflon coated fiberglass really is the longest lasting fabric.
Teflon.
Yes. Yeah, and that has normally I think a guaranteed lifespan of 25 years. Actual lifespan closer to 40. Because there are structures that have been up for at least 40 years with Teflon coated fiberglass still standing without a problem.
Is it possible to do that with a new coating of Teflon or something?
Not that I know of. No, you can't do that on site. What they do, with a lot of these structures, and we've had this, if a panel fails, for whatever reason, either it's worn out, it fails, you can remove it, replace it very easily. It's a simple roofing job, essentially. Any other
question? So you were in an era in your youth. I'm not saying you're old, but in your youth.
Both statements are correct.
In your youth, there was an incredible amount of innovation going on. You see what was happening, and you talked about the fact that owners and clients accepted that failure was part of innovation.
Right.
What's happened, what we've seen, and what I've seen in my career is that that is no longer the status quo. Right? If failure is considered, I think you did such a good job, your generation did such a good job of moving the technology to a point where people took success in very dramatic and very ambitious projects. They took it for granted that these structures would not fail, and that innovation was not something that they had to actually take any risk in. How do you see us getting back to the point? And I'm not talking lives here, because we're not talking about creating facilities that people will be harmed in, but that there is risk if you want to push the envelope. What did you see? Besides the litigious part of it, what did you see that allowed that to happen? And what could we do today to try to convince people to be able to push the envelope and take those chances that will allow us to continue to push innovation to where it went from the 40s to the 60s to the 70s, and then, in my opinion, really stagnated for a long period of time?
Well, I mean, there are a couple of things involved there. One has to do with, obviously, at the time that I was my early youth practicing in the 50s, things were different. I mean, as I pointed out, if there were problems, usually they were either absorbed by the owner. They were considered, the owner was considered part of the team. Now the owner is really separate. The owner is up there, and we are down here. So he's no longer part of the team. He is simply God above us. And that's a problem, because we're not sharing in responsibility. Another problem is that, sure, there is risk in developing new ideas. We should be properly compensated for taking that risk, in the sense that either we should be allowed more money to go more deeply into risky designs so that we can assure an owner that it will not fail, or we should be allowed to take a risk and have that risk be borne not just by us, but by the owner itself. So I don't think there's an easy solution, because the whole atmosphere has changed. I mean, you need time and effort to be able to guarantee to any extent that what you design has no problems with it. And in order to get both of those, time and money, you need both.
I certainly think we'd all vote for higher fees for the AE industry and shared risk. I think we could all agree on that.
Yeah.
Unless there's an owner in the room.
Yeah. Yes.
So what do you think? Shared risk and shared responsibility? You know,
No.
the IPD, one of the 9 principles in the IPD is shared risk and shared responsibility. So I think that's a challenge for our industry if we're
Yeah.
continue to push the envelope.
Tom, I have a question. On this type of design, aren't there new developments in your software analysis that you're able to mitigate that risk by new technology, software programs that improve, not just by the old days when it fell out, but your modeling, your computer modeling will prove that it will be.
Well, let me just say about that. Computers have a very important place in the design process, but they are not the solution to the design process. They're simply a tool that you have to use. And if you misuse the tool, you're going to have a problem. What I mean by that is people who rely on computer solutions wholly will find that if they're not careful, a mistake can creep in that they will not be aware of because they have not evaluated the structure in a simplistic way to give them an idea of the order of magnitude of the solution. In other words, you have to know the solution of the computer program before it actually spews out, at least in order of magnitude. If you don't do that, you can be in trouble.
I would also say that we see 2 things. We're really good at existential risk, right? What I mean by that is it's very rare that our structures fail, right? So, and that's because we have tools and because we can estimate the forces and we can do all of these things. And so we've avoided where we run into a problem is if you want to innovate, there's no roadmap for how to build it, how long it's going to take. You run into those issues that are kind of business risks. So you do an innovation, at the end of the day, it gets done, but it took more time, or there's a little back and forth, and everybody expects the same linear process of a traditional project. We do a lot of projects in New York. I've spent my life in New York, not my career there, but I've grown up there. We have a thing where they can do a 2-day cycle on floors in New York. So every floor they're doing a high-rise concrete building, 2 days, and they do the next floor 2 days, and that's their claim to fame. Right? If you try to do anything else in New York, and it takes more than 2 days to do a floor, they consider that to be a problem. So now the problem is they do it in 2 days, and then they spend like a week and a half skim coating it because the quality of it is so terrible and the cost is so much that's just what they do. So if you try to innovate, and it's happened, people try different systems, and it takes longer than that, or the first time out of the box it didn't save money because they learned this and that, it doesn't end up with someone saying, okay, well, we learned something, we're a team, the next time we'll do it, we'll learn the next thing. No, you end up with a claim or whatever it is. So I don't think the challenge that we've seen in getting these systems forward is, it's risky because it may fail. No, it's not going to fail, but the process is unpredictable because you haven't done it before. So you can't put the same metrics of success as you would on doing the same thing you did before and doing just over again. And I think that's an education thing, but unfortunately there's barriers. As you said, there is a separation many times between owners. There's layers. We have owners and reps, we have owners and construction managers. Was there anyone between you and your client when you were working on these jobs early in your career?
No.
No, it was just owner, architect, and engineer. And in these cases, the engineer and the architect got to work. So.
I mean, the other part of it is some of these structures really are very sophisticated in terms of construction, and we're not really responsible for the construction, but at the same time we have a responsibility sometimes at least to outline what the general methodology should be for construction, because the contractor may not know. Which way should he start? Where should he build first? What kind of arrangement should he have? So there's an interaction between the engineer and the constructor, the contractor, that becomes a very important interaction. we're very rarely compensated for that. You know, that's not part of our basic job. And yet we really feel that that's the only way we can properly innovate, because that's the only way we can guarantee that we get the result we want. I'll give you one quick example. On the New York Javits Center, which is the New York Convention Center, space frame roof, huge space frame roof. No problem with design, you know, no problem with bidding. We get to construction, and this is an arrangement with pipes and nodes. The nodes were cast, and the pipes are pipes. So we get to construction, and the contractor who is building the nodes, we begin to get test results on some of the nodes, and they look bad. So we go to the owner and says, we got to reject these. Now, if we reject these, it's going to delay the job. So, but we do reject them because they're just not up to quality, and it does delay the job. Now, who's responsible for that? Are we responsible? And yet we're the ones who get sued, and we're the ones. Our insurance company ends up having to pay because somebody else did something wrong. That's just not right. Not right. Yes.
One of the things that we've been discussing this, we go back to IPD, and if you speak to any owner, they will tell you, I'll never sign an IPD contract. Most of them, unless they're in the healthcare industry in certain areas. When I say the IPD contract, I mean the one that was written by the architects in the original IPD process. But I think one of the best things, if you go back and read the IPD when it was first adopted, they list the 9 principles of IPD. And we've discussed that those 9 principles are really the principles of a good project. Because if you read through them, it's things like shared risk, shared responsibility, early involvement of all parties, use of latest technology. You go down through the line, and I think you can point to any good job you've ever worked on, successful job you've ever worked on, and we have the kind of same definition of successful. When you get to the end of the job, and everybody, not just a subset, says, I'd do that again, that's successful. There's a lot of successful jobs where the owner would say, I'll do it again, or you'd say, I'd do it again, but the contractor went out of business, or this one went here. But when you get to those jobs, and they happen every once in a while, where everybody walks away and says, I'd do that again, you can go through that list and you say, yeah, I got involved early with the owner. We did use latest technology. There is a certain sense of shared risk and responsibility. And I think we've lost track of that. I think IPD tried to bring that in, but unfortunately they tried to stick a contract with it that most owners would never even think of signing. And I think if we figure out a way in which we bring the principles back and not worry and let the contract take care of the contract, we may actually be able to do some of the exciting, more of the exciting types of innovation projects that seemed like pretty commonplace back in the 50s and 60s and 70s.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure if I'm remembering this or imagining it, but wasn't there a time when air-supported structures were used as forms for thin-shell concrete domes? And if so, why didn't that take off? Have a repeated use of the same air foam form
Right.
to build lots of structures economically? Yeah,
there is actually a couple of uses like that, but there, you know, when you're talking about using an air-supported structure as a form, we're talking about small dimensions. Now, it's never been tried for a large structure. First of all, the cost would be prohibitive, because when you think about it, you got to pay for that form, and for a large structure, the chance that it's not going to be used again. You know, it's a single-use kind of situation. But it was developed for schools, for housing. There's an Italian engineer who did a lot of schools and government buildings and housing in Australia using an air-inflated structure as its form, and poured concrete, or poured or sprayed on concrete. Anything else?
More questions?
No.
All right, well, thank you. Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman.